Welcome to another episode of Will You Accept This Rose? I'm everyone's favorite host, including Chris Harrison, Veronica Gail. Join with me are Jenna Powell, Christian Gardner, and Wilnir Louis. Guys, how you doing today?
I'm glad to finally make my debut alongside Wilnir. I mean, we've been longtime fans of the show. We've been waiting to share our opinions on the season.
And I feel like, my opinions really matter because, not to toot my own horn, but I'm going to say it early. There's a nice little Bachelor PTV bracket going on, and yours truly is in first place. So I feel like I'm an expert when it comes to this Bachelor stuff.
All I'm saying is I'm about to beat you, but I'm losing to you by 2. So you better watch out. I'm coming for you next week. But all I have to say, we had an exciting 2 days this week. We had 2 episodes. We had hometowns and then a woman tell all. So drama. But let's dive into those hometowns. So guys, which hometown stood out to you the most?
I think for me, it was Rachel, just because of like the near-death experience that the world got to watch. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to the Bachelor makeup and hair team who Rachel fell and had grass and leaves and she looked rough, for someone who just got hurt. Cut to the next scene, they're talking, same spot, looking beautiful, hair straightened, looking great. So that day definitely stood out the most to me.
I think it was just such an interesting day seeing skydiving and things like that. How they rebounded from hitting the ground as well was quite an adventure between the two of them, really showing kind of their connection. For me, one of my favorite was Michelle introducing her students to Matt. Just kind of shows what kind of person that she is back at home in Minnesota and kind of what life Matt could find himself into if he decides to finish his life with Michelle.
You know what, Jenna, Christian, I mean, you guys both talked about great dates, but honestly, for me, I'm going to have to go with Bree. And the reason why is because Bree took advantage of that first one-on-one that Bree had with Matt and kind of put her own twist on it too. And I feel as if that really showed, at least to me, it showed to me that she remembers everything that happened with her and Matt. And, she was just trying to show I remember, as well as we have that connection. So that date, to me really stood out.
I have to agree with Christian on this one. I loved Michelle's date. I thought it was super personal, super cute with the students coming in and they're asking Matt all those questions and seeing them laugh and stuff. I thought you really saw their connection. So, but are there any hometown dates you guys didn't really like?
I mean, without a doubt, it has to be Serena P. I'm not feeling the Canadian trivia. I mean, it was cool to see some of those foods, but some of that, it was just as you're seeing all these other great dates, you're just kind of getting bar food and hey, did you know this thing from Canada? And thanks, Serena, you're from Canada. That's all I got from it.
I was going to say, I feel as if Serena P, she didn't play no Drake in the background. I needed some Hotline Bling, some Over, some Miss Me, some type of Drake in the back. Because how are you going to say you're from Canada without having Toronto's best musical artist be a part of it? That's what threw me off.
Because ABC doesn't have the money for it, Will. That's why.
Yeah, I agree. Serena and Matt's connection we'll get into later. But I think that hometown date, you could see the connection just kind of wasn't there, kind of drifting. And I feel like they didn't really get much out of that one-on-one and kind of making it to that next step in the relationship. So for me, Serena P's hometown date was just not it.
I'm going to disagree with everyone here right now. My least favorite date was Rachel's, and I will say why. I just didn't think it was personal to her hometown. I don't think I learned anything with it. You know what I mean? I do respect her, though, make ABC's pockets hurt. I see her doing that. I see her living her truth and doing that. And I get it. I respect the choice. But I get it. They're falling for each other. But it didn't really give me that hometown experience that I was looking for. So personally, that was my least favorite date. But moving on. Serena P leaves that episode in a very dramatic self-elimination. Did you guys see this coming? And what are your thoughts on her leaving?
Truthfully, I thought Serena P was on her way to win this whole thing. And to see her on her way out, to take herself out like that, I was completely thrown for a loop. And it just seemed as soon as she got back with her family, that's when everything changed. Like, we had not seen at all anything about Serena P and her previous love engagements and different things like that. And learning that in that moment, we don't even know if Matt knew about that as well. So we definitely learned a lot from her hometown and seeing where her head was at. And for me, I thought she was going to be the one that Matt went down on a knee for. But here we are with a self-elimination.
Yeah, I actually feel like I saw this coming back from the one-on-one date they had when they did their little yoga thing. She was just like super uncomfortable and like wasn't into it really. That was something she just wasn't having like a good time with, and she even told that to Matt. So for me, I kind of wasn't surprised when her family also saw that maybe she like wasn't super comfortable with Matt. And I think her sister got in her head a lot with that hometown date. So for me, I actually wasn't super surprised when she broke up with him last week.
Yeah, there was a part of me that didn't feel like Serena P was going to move on, but I didn't think it would be her getting herself out. And I mean, she had the realization, and I feel like a lot of these girls on the hometowns had that realization. You're locked in that bubble for, God knows how long they're locked in, and then you finally get some contact with your family. Now, I would hope that they were calling their families and at least talking about the experience, probably under some confidentiality agreement, because they can't really exploit everything. But that was the first time that you could be face to face with your family. That's the first time that you could really have that conversation with your family. And I feel as if Serena P was probably the one that got hit the hardest with this in terms of getting that reality check and finally figuring out maybe this isn't the one. Now, again, I'm completely shocked. You're in this bubble for that long. You're doing all these one-on-one dates. You're going above and beyond for Matt, and it seemed like they would have been, definitely final two, final three had she stayed on for that rose ceremony. But to come to that realization that late in the show, that was honestly what surprised me the most.
I have to agree. I didn't expect her to leave. I thought she was going final two. I thought it was going to be Bree, Serena P final two. That was it. Clearly, that's not the case. What I did love, though, is that Serena dumped him. She walked him out. He was crying. She put him in the limo. I just love that little role reversal we saw going on. So I thought that was really cute. But let's take a break from the hometowns and let's go to the real drama. The woman tell all. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a woman tell all like no other. Let's get right into the drama. MJ and Jasenia, what do we think about how that went down last night?
Let me tell you something. I really found myself liking Jasenia after realizing what was going on with MJ and her. And I feel as if MJ just never realized that she was the one that was causing all the drama. And Jasenia was the one that kept her in check. And I really found that good about her, that like she was the one that decided to be hard on MJ and come into that reality check and be like, you're the one that was causing all of this, like just own up to it. But MJ just couldn't find her way to own up to it, when it happened. And even during the woman tell all, she was kind of on the fence about it. She was slightly owning up to it, slightly not. But in the woman tell all clip that we saw before that drama, that they were talking about the drama, MJ said like, oh, it's nice to have the varsity squad here. Like, she got caught in 4K, in 4K HD, 8 cameras surrounding everybody. She got caught and she wasn't owning up to it. And I just like that Jasenia was the one to really be like, you're the one that did this. Just own up to it. We all seen it. That's why the divide happened. So that's my thoughts of it. But I really like Jasenia staying 10 toes and being grounded in her beliefs in that whole drama and divide.
Yeah, I agree with Wilnir. I think when you have the cameras around, it's hard to really get away with a lot. So obviously MJ, I think, in my opinion, was in the wrong just with that whole 4 to 5 girls, that new group that came in. A lot of people, voiced their opinion that they didn't like it. And obviously the JV and varsity joke was taken super far. I don't think that was like really appropriate because they were all there for the same reason. But obviously for MJ, in that 2-on-1 she had with Jasenia and Matt, it didn't work out in her favor since she was sent home right after that. And then Jasenia, I believe, was sent home that week after in her one-on-one. So I shout out Matt for not, really putting up with the drama and kind of putting that to rest. But yeah, with the cameras around and with that replay, it's really hard to get yourself out of that situation.
Yeah, you just can't escape the replay factor for MJ. And it's just so funny with the montage that you see her say the exact same thing and not exactly own up to it as well. But still, it was a joke that did walk pretty far, like you were saying, Jenna. But hey, that's just how it goes. The drama was there, and I ate it up the entire season.
Definitely safe to say, I think a lot of us are team Jasenia after that one. Me personally, I don't know, felt like, again, drama between the B list. I didn't think any of these girls were going to win. Just caused unnecessary drama within the house. But moving on to the big drama queen of the season, the queen has arrived again. Queen Victoria came back to the show. What do you guys think about what she said and what she talked about during that Woman Tell All?
For me, the way that she wasn't trying to own up to things as well, as if like the backlash that she got, hey guys, I got called a bully online, so I know how it feels. I mean, it just wasn't genuine for me, and it just kind of showed kind of the character that she really played this season. And even with the camera still around, she kept that up as well, even with Matt not being around. And seeing the literally montage at the end of the episode was just fantastic for me as well.
I'm going to admit something. It's going to be, I'm not going to say hot, but it'll probably be a little warm. I started to emphasize with Victoria a little bit towards when she got kicked off, as well as during the Woman Tell All. Now, there was a couple of things that she had completely went overboards, out of bounds, throw the flag on. The one being, oh yeah, I got called a bully, so like my life on the internet is so hard. Like, being called a bully isn't that bad. Like it's a middle school term, elementary school term. People get called bullies here and there. Like, I get called a bully now, and it's like, all right, we're like, I'm not gonna be too upset about that, but to have her, try to compare that to Brittney's situation, which we're gonna get to, like, I did not like that whatsoever. To try to ask like, oh yeah, are you sensitive, and trying to like word that like, oh, you're too sensitive, that's why stuff on the internet affects you more. Like, I didn't like that either, but like, when she got voted off or didn't receive the rose, and then even throughout a couple of times during the Woman Tell All, especially when Matt came in, like, I feel as if like Victoria is just, I don't want to say hard-headed, but like she is such a person that's grounded in her roots, and it's her delivery that's off. I feel as if like deep down rooted in her, she's a person that does care and a person that's kind of loving, but I don't know, maybe throughout her upbringing or something like that, she just doesn't deliver that properly. And I think it's that delivery that people have not had experience with that's really rubbing everybody the wrong way. I think if you really try to get down and really try to understand her, maybe she's a solid person. But there was just like again, I'll sort of feel for her, but there was just a couple of things that was just like, not at all, like not one bit. I can't get with you on that one.
Yeah, I think those are both really good points. And I just wanted to say, like, I think after, she's probably someone who hasn't had this platform before and someone who hasn't been on camera. So I think after maybe her watching those episodes, like, I actually thought she was like kind of normal and calm, like on this Women Tell All. So I think maybe she realized in a sense, the way she was acting maybe wasn't super appropriate on the show at all times. So I think on this episode last night, or, the Women Tell All episode, I think she kind of tried to act more in a mature manner and, maybe have people feel bad for her, kind of like Wilnir was saying, you might feel bad. But I was surprised to see that. She was a lot more calm and put together than I thought she would be for this episode.
I completely agree. I thought she was gonna be off the rails, and she wasn't. So that was kind of shocking. My whole thing with Victoria is it's hard when she says, "Well, I wasn't a bully." Well, then you see the replay. The replay's getting her too. Because you see those replays and she's calling girls all these mean names. And it's like, well, it's kind of hard to say you're a bully when not a bully when we see you actively bullying girls in the house. But she's gonna let it's the queen. I don't know. She can't be wrong, I guess. But then we get into a whole another Bachelor scandal with Brittney. Throughout the season, there was a rumor going around the house that Brittney was an escort. It was disproven, but that was a rumor in the house, and she comes out about how this rumor has changed her life so far. What do we think about what Brittney said about this? And does Anna deserve more backlash from starting that rumor?
I think that was probably the most hurtful thing that like could have been said on the show, and the most hurtful rumor that could be spread about somebody without knowing any facts, without knowing anything. So I definitely think Anna deserved a little bit more backlash. But I think Brittney handled it in a completely mature, professional way. She accepted Anna's apology, which I actually also appreciated, like her to say that. That was pretty big of her to say on live TV. But yeah, I mean, I think they both handled it like adults. And I don't think Brittney was ever like super catty about it, ever went tried to get like revenge or anything on Anna in a mean way, never tried to get any backlash on her. But you never know with Bachelor Nation, that wasn't really brought up like after the fact. But I think they both handled it super well.
Yeah, I think with this whole with Brittney's situation, the one thing that I didn't really understand out of Anna's point was, oh yeah, Anna got the rumor, and then she tells all the whole house, and then let's have this one-on-one conversation with Brittney and tell her like this is what happened or this is what I heard. And granted, I guess in the scenario, in the situation, in the heat of the moment, like your judgment might go completely out the window, especially when you're trying to fall in love and get engaged with this guy, and now you have some competition coming in and some solid competition at that. But I feel like, why didn't you have that conversation with her first and like say like, oh yeah, I heard some things about you, and not spread the rumor first and then try to clean it up afterwards? And Brittney was talking about it in that Woman Tell All. Like she was completely devastated. When she came into the house, she was a bubbly person, but then once she heard that rumor, she broke down and she couldn't see her family when she got back home for the first couple of weeks. And it's like that all could have been avoided if Anna would have had that conversation with Brittney at first. Like that's the part that frustrates me about that situation as a whole. It's like you're saying that you're sorry, and you're saying that I didn't realize the damage that would be done. Like calling somebody an escort is a bad situation one way or the other. Like there's no way around it. Even if you got some text messages from her ex-boyfriend or family friends or anything like that, because Chicago's a small city, like the fact that you would go around and say that first and not try to figure it out first or keep that to yourself, like it's frustrating. And I completely give credit to Brittney for being the better woman in this situation and saying, I accept your apology, and like let's kind of leave this water under the bridge, because I don't think I would be able to do that if I was in that situation. So I'll give credit to Brittney on that. And Anna, honestly, in your direct question, Veronica, I think she does deserve a little bit more backlash, because it was a situation that didn't have to happen in the first place.
I think for the backlash standpoint, it's very interesting that we had a similar conversation that MJ said to Jacinia that, oh, you need to tear down another woman to get your name above someone else's. And that's exactly what Anna did. But we have this conversation during the tell-all with Jacinia and MJ rather than with Anna. But it's because of how Brittney handled the situation. And the biggest takeaway from me from the tell-all on this situation was seeing how Brittney, she wanted to come in as this beautiful, strong woman and was then broken down by a stupid rumor. And it's just very sad that she couldn't have her full love story. And we'll see if she gets to join any other different adventures within the Bachelor Nation. But for her, the way that she handled it was pretty amazing, pretty strong of herself to exemplify to a national audience to say, hey, this really broke me down, that I had to take myself away from my family and my friends, and that I was distraught from this experience, but then I can still grow from it and say, hey, it's water under the bridge, even though I wish you had not done that or could have done more afterwards, after the fact. But she still moved forward ahead of it, and cheers up to her.
I agree. I think Brittney handled this the best she could. And even Anna at the Women Tell All, I think Anna also handled this pretty well. The thing that upsets me, I think, the most with this is that the producers kept the scene in. They could have taken it out, they kept it in. I understand why they kept it in from a producer standpoint, but it's sad to see that Brittney is getting a lot of backlash from this. But moving farther into the episode, Katie, Abigail, Piper, and Serena P all found themselves in the hot seat. Any of these conversations stand out to you guys?
For me, I immediately have to go to Abigail. I mean, her highlight package, it just showed how much of a turn it was, because her and Matt had such a good connection, and it showed in that montage as well from day one, and you could tell that she was really falling for him, and just the quick turnaround by how these other relationships went, but also showing how important she was in the deaf community as well. In her story, hopefully we get to hear more from her. But Abigail, she's just such a nice person as well, and I just enjoy having her on screen.
Yeah, Christian, I'm gonna have to fully agree with you there. I think Abigail, throughout the season, she was a solid person, and she was, who she was in terms of being nice and being genuine and all of that. But like you said, Christian, I think the part that stood out to me most was the deaf community and how, her being on national TV and her talking about, her situation really inspired everybody else. And then when we saw the tweets come up on the board and how people really were inspired by her story, I didn't know that, her situation had that much of an impact, or, learning about the deaf with a capital D, group. And that just was something that I just never knew about. And, hearing Abigail talk about her situation and bring more light to it, which was something that I felt like was discussed during, the majority of the show, but nothing that was really brought up in that context. I felt like hearing that a little bit more, really stood out to me.
Yeah, I definitely loved Abigail and what she stood for this season. But I also really liked Katie's, hot seat moment with Chris Harrison. I think her getting, really emotional and how it was kind of unexpected for her to be leaving. I kind of felt for her. I think she was just super unproblematic, and kind of had the issue with that girl Sarah, who ended up leaving, but then kind of wanted to reunite the group in a way and kind of try to get them on understanding, why she left and everything. So I feel like she was just a good person that was, kind of there for the group and wasn't really about the drama too much. So I really liked her being there.
Katie is definitely, I think, getting blamed for way too much drama than she should be. Just because she told Matt doesn't mean, the whole MJ Jasenia thing is not Katie's fault in my eyes, I think. Just because she told Matt that, hey, the house is toxic, which it clearly was from the videos, doesn't mean she deserves all that backlash from the girls. And also Abigail is such a little precious. I just want to hold on to her. She is the cutest person to ever exist on this planet. I love her so much. But do we see any of these women being the next Bachelorette?
I think without a doubt, it has to be Katie. And I say this on two standpoints. One, when she was in that hot seat and when she was talking about her situation being 30, and I don't know if I'm ever is there something wrong with me in terms of not falling in love and not, being with somebody. I think, Bachelor Nation is going to take note of that. And the second thing was Bachelor Nation. One, Katie got voted off that show. I mean, I saw Twitter go in an uproar and saying, Katie, she needs to be the next Bachelorette, no questions about it. We need to see it. And I think if the producers and the people who run The Bachelor really care about their show and really want to continue to see it grow. They're seeing all that tweets. They're seeing everything that social media had to say about Katie, and they're going to take a note of it in their little notepad. And I think when it's all said and done, I think she is going to be the one that is going to be the next Bachelorette.
I would love to see Abigail just because I feel like she didn't get the recognition, she deserved on this season. Like Matt said, she got the first impression rose and then he kind of like forgot about her in a way. It was just got like super comfortable with their relationship that he kind of never really went back to her, and she was the only one who never had a one-on-one with him. So I feel like she got gypped a little bit this season and deserved a lot more. So if Chris Harrison or this new host wants to make her the Bachelorette, I am here for it.
I would be very happy at Abigail being the Bachelorette, but I also could see Katie as well, just the way things were going in the tell-all. I think for me, a lot of this season, I thought it was going to be Rachel, but of course, with everything that has come out in the past few months, it's definitely not going to be her, but I thought it was gonna go in that direction. So my bet would be on Katie. I think they've built up her character pretty solidly as kind of a logical person that will do what's best, and also a person that deserves to have love. And I think could be a very interesting love story. But also I have to say, I would love to see Piper more.
I like Katie. I think she's great. My problem is I think people like Abigail more. I think Abigail is just, she's in America's hearts. Katie, I feel like, is America's brain, and Abigail is America's hearts. So I've said it since episode 1, and I'm going to say it again. I want Abigail to be the next Bachelorette. I think it would be an amazing season, and it would do a lot for the deaf community, as she was talking about before. But is there anything else you guys wish was talked about during this Women Tell All?
I wish there was a couple more behind the scenes stuff. Like, I understand, you only have a certain amount of time and you need to get to the drama. You need to get to specifically what happened in the house and all this stuff that the people saw. But I wanted to see a couple more like behind the scenes stories. Like, we got the bloopers, yes, without a doubt. Seeing them having to stick their hand in some insect boxes was pretty interesting to see, as well as that whole egg thing before the boxing show. But I felt like there could have been a little bit more behind the scenes stuff, like not updating things that we already saw, but giving a little bit more to what it was being in that house, what it was being in that bubble. And, Matt just talking a little bit more about how he felt at this doing, how he felt being the Bachelor, for the first time, and just a little bit more about his experience, as the first Black Bachelor, as well as just overall, just how he felt being on the show for the first time.
I was going to say along those same lines, Wilnir, more behind the scenes, because this was a huge thing to pull off this season in The Bachelor, in that huge bubble at Nemacolin. I think we could have learned a lot more about how that came together. I mean, it was quite a struggle. We saw a little bit of that when we saw some of the girls coming in halfway through the season and what it's like, how they had the quarantine that much, but still how they decided on going to this resort and how they got families there as well, and how they decided, oh, this would be a great place to do all these different dates and different things like that. I think there could be a lot learned from what the producers went through in making this tough, difficult season of The Bachelor, but maybe that's just me.
For me, like, one thing I'm still unsure of, like, I don't know if this is like common knowledge at this point. Victoria just like went by queen, but like no one ever questioned her occupation. Like, I wish I just would have known like what she does like for a living. Like, I feel like, they were like, okay, you're a queen, and they kind of just ran with it. So I'm just, invested in that aspect of her life.
Yeah, they absolutely ran with that character. Two things I would have liked to see. Number one, I would have loved to see Sarah come back. I understand why she didn't. It would have been great to see, but we get it. And where was Heather? Such a weird character arc. That could have been such a bigger thing. I feel like they're trying to hide that for some reason. I don't really know, but I would have loved to see Heather at that Women's Tell All. And the last thing, Matt's new beard. I'm not a fan personally. I say cut it out. I don't know how the panel feels, but I was upset to see the beard. Not gonna lie.
He had the sparkle with it though. He had a nice little glimmer every time he moved. He had a little boop boop. I don't know. I appreciate that he at least got a cut though. I mean,
Me and Christian, we watched The Bachelor together, and that's the running joke. Like, this guy just, I don't know what it was. I don't know if he didn't pack his do-rag and brush in the bubble, if he didn't have his curl gel, his S curl. Like, it was weird to see just the way that his hair was. So the fact that he decided to go 1.5 with a taper, get the beard grown out like James Harden, going back to his New York roots, I thought that it was top of the line stuff.
Well, real quick, right before we end, lightning round, who does everyone think is going to win the show?
I believe, with all the speculation and all the things that's come out, I think it has to be Rachel, without a doubt. And we've seen online, you guys have shown the other reporting, that there has been a breakup with whoever wins. So I think it has to be Rachel.
Yeah, just putting the pieces together, I'm going to say Rachel.
I think I'm not going to say anything because Veronica Gail is going to try to use this so she can beat me in the PTV Bachelor bracket. So I'm going to keep my decisions sealed.
I think that's ridiculous that you think I'd do that. But I think it's Rachel, and now I think he's single because that's why he has a beard now. He had to change his appearance, change the hair, and that's why he got a beard. It's my theory. But in the words of Matt James, guys, thank you for sharing. Jenna, Christian, Wilnir, thank you so much for being with me here today. For this week, I'm Veronica Gail. We'll see you next time.